Like solo stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have a song speaking of covers, it's a cover song.
There you are. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That I worked on and shot a music video, and you're in the music video.
That was a shameless plug.
I was trying to get it out earlier this year, and that didn't happen because basically the Ice Nine Kills thing happened. I got really busy, but then there actually is some label interest, so that kind of pushed things back. So it's definitely something I'm going to be working on, like probably developing more original material. But it's very daunting because I've never really thought of myself as a solo artist. So it's kind of a grand experiment, to see how much I suck or not as a solo artist. And
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RRBG podcast in our new home here at Knucklehead Studio in Hollywood. And I'm being joined by my good buddy, Mr. Doc Coyle. How are you, man?
Doing all right. Enjoying that LA traffic.
Oh, yeah. LA traffic's the best, especially around this time period. Dude, I am very happy to see you.
Likewise.
I would say you've had the run of your life just recently.
That's one way to describe it for sure. Definitely. No, I absolutely, one of the highlights, I think, of my touring career for sure.
Fuck yeah. For those that are not aware, Mr. Doc Coyle here was playing guitar with Ice Nine Kills during a tour with Metallica, playing fucking stadiums around the country.
And the world. We did Europe as well.
And the world. And Europe. That's insane to me. The highlight to me as a New Jersey boy, which I reached out to you immediately after. I'm like, dude, that's fucking wild to me that you got to play in a giant stadium. Basically,
yes.
Was it MetLife?
MetLife Stadium, whatever corporate shill.
It's giant stadiums for anybody in New Jersey, East Rutherford. I told you, I grew up looking at that stadium from the window of my bedroom, just like dreaming, and you got to be in the center, dude. How do you feel right now?
It's interesting, because that's when I went out yesterday to the Ultimate Jam night. They had like Aerosmith night, and there's a lot of people coming up. Oh, they want to know the vibes, and the interesting thing about touring, I think, as like from the perspective of like an accomplishment, right? It's like you do it, you experience it, and then it's over. It's not something that you can kind of, I think, hang your hat on too much. I think it's very much about being in the moment, and especially like on those days when you were doing those Metallica shows, just making sure you take it all in and appreciate the actual performance and the connection and like the energy, and then but once you do it, it's a memory, and it's so it's something I'm definitely proud that I was able to accomplish that and have that experience. But it's like for me, it's just like building off of that. Like, okay, I've done that. Now I think it's what's next. It's always what's next.
Yeah, I mean, until it's you headlining that show at Giant Stadium, there's always that what's next, and even after that, there's a what's next.
And sure, and also just the aspect of performing with Ice Nine Kills, and I'm not in the band. It was always going to be kind of a temporary thing. So even their success is kind of their success, right. And I was able to be a part of that for a while, and it's absolutely helped me in a myriad of ways in terms of exposing me to like their fans and maybe exposing some Ice Nine Kills fans to Bad Wolves or something like that. But it's just something for me to go, that was amazing, and I'm sure great things will probably stem from that, in the future. But right now, it's like immediately as soon as I got home, I had like a few days where I got to rest, and it was like Bad Wolves has a record coming out in November, and it's like, all right, now we're just switching gears and promo, and be on that kind of wavelength.
That's admirable, dude. That's admirable. I mean, I personally, I was curious to see where your headspace was at in terms of not just being home from that momentous moment, but just during that time, because I personally, whenever I have a moment that's like a huge moment where I'm like blown away of what this is, can't believe this is happening, a lot of the times I don't really feel it in that moment. I'm kind of just getting it done, work mode, kind of zone out, get it done, and then after the fact, I'm like looking through Instagram, like, holy shit, like, okay, that was wild. So while you were in that like moment, were you feeling it?
Well, absolutely. Like, especially because we were doing headline shows in between and mainly doing that. And so we would do essentially like one Metallica show a week. And so it was always a bit more special. And I would I would go off on those shows. Like my neck and back after those performances would be a little wrecked because I went hard. I really wanted to connect with the audience as much as possible and like kind of feed off their intensity. And dude, the audiences were amazing. Like you'd have this idea that, oh, you're opening for this massive band and all they care about is the headliner. And it was the exact opposite of that. They were like, you just walk out there and it's just like beaming faces and excited to be there and happy to see you. And the thing I liked about Ice Nine Kills was the kind of dichotomy between the way the band dresses, which is in tuxedos and this very kind of, formal image against the backdrop of music that could be really heavy and crazy and thrashy. And I liked kind of almost the shock value of that. And so I made sure to make my performance very aggressive to kind of counter the imagery.
Kind of like the American Psycho vibe on there. You're.
No, well, that's the whole concept.
Yeah.
That's of the whole tour was all the props and stuff was designed around the American Psycho and the song "Hip to Be Scared."
Yeah. Now, like you said, what's next? Is the mentality. Are you in that zone of like, okay, well, what's next has to be on par or bigger?
I don't listen. I think some things are at a certain level that it's not fair. It's not fair to compare what I'm doing to Metallica, right?
Sure.
Or in terms of like a basis that is, even for the support bands that are on that, getting that spot is a benchmark for them. I don't care if it's Pantera or Five Finger Death Punch, who are massive bands as well. Like that is kind of a heralded spot that every band in the world would want. So no, I think the standard is just work on what you can control, right? You can't control whether people are gonna like your music or your band, right? You can work as hard as you can put everything out there, but the people decide whether your thing is gonna work out or get the kind of feedback and I think it's difficult too to just base what you're doing off kind of external validation, which to a certain degree, like almost all businesses exist, right? Like people utilizing your product or your service is that form of validation, right? And if they don't do that, then you're out of business. So
True.
Obviously there is a certain form of that is a necessity. But outside of that, it's just a matter of like focusing on the work you're doing, bring a good attitude, leave everything out there, because no matter what happens, you can say you didn't give 100%. So
Right.
That's just really where I'm focused. And Bad Wolves has another tour that's not announced yet for the end of the year. And then before that, God forbid, is doing some more reunion shows in Florida. We're doing the Headbangers Boat with Lamb of God and Testament and Mastodon and a bunch of other bands. So it's going to get, I'm home for about a little less than 2 months, but I'm going to be very busy while I'm at home. But then the kind of touring and performing stuff is going to be active pretty much till the end of the year after that.
Yeah, as long as if you keep it busy, it won't become an issue in terms of like starting to, because I don't know. I'm not saying that you're like me in that sense. I'm like that where when big things happen, if something else isn't in the works, no matter what size it is, like it's just something else needs to be in the works for me to stay sane, or
Sure.
else it start to spiral down and like, oh, what's going on? Nothing new's happening. What's going on? So if you keep yourself busy, I think, and you're insanely busy. I had all those notes that you mentioned already. That we'll get to that. So I was just saying, you had a lot of big moments going on with this tour, and you have Bad Wolves coming in now with a new album, November 3rd, I believe. It's called Die About It. How excited are you now going into this new album cycle? I know that you mentioned, or the band mentioned, that it's a clean slate for the band. What does that mean for you guys when you say that, clean slate?
I think there was a lot of baggage surrounding the release of the last album, Dear Monsters. And, there's a lot of, I think, the weight that kind of came with that and pushback and negativity is not really there. I wouldn't say it's like completely disappeared, but for the most part, at least from a musical standpoint, this is all fresh material that is, only kind of correlated with the members that are here now.
Because Beer Monsters had some stuff that you wrote before. I'm assuming.
Yeah. About 60% of the record was, old, stuff that we were already kind of previously working on. So I think that gives us a fresher perspective, and I don't know, it's just an evolution. Like, I guess, like any band that's moving forward and trying to do different things. So it's not solely unique to that, but yeah, I think each time you kind of make that step, and now we'll have just as many records with DL as we've had previous. So it's, a lot easier for him to kind of make his mark, within the band and what that means. So, I'm just excited for people to hear it. That's all. I think when you make a record, you just want people to hear what you do and enjoy it, hopefully.
Now, in terms of sound of the band, is, we similar to what you've done in the past? Is it a little heavier, a little faster? Like, is there anything that's changed?
It's hard to say. I think there's definitely plenty of heavy stuff, but there's stuff that I think for us, there was always this idea of like what a prototypical Bad Wolves song is from like a heavy perspective, or a prototypical Bad Wolves song from like, oh, this is going to be like a single or a radio song or something like that. And I think we found inspiration in going to some different places. And sometimes that was maybe a poppier direction, or maybe something just a little left of center of what we previously would have encountered, And sometimes it's not necessarily about the heaviness or the lightness of something. It's just about what's this feel that's exciting. I think sometimes just anything that's newer just feels more exciting. You're not retreading the same ground. So there's definitely where I feel like the last record, there was almost a concerted effort not to drift too far from what we've done, because we wanted to keep some consistency for the fan base,
Right.
and who knows, maybe that conservatism, maybe that hurt the record. Maybe it was too, not adventurous enough. So hopefully people will respond to the fact that we branched out a little bit. We'll see. But we can't know, at the end of the day.
How has the reaction been? So, because you guys are teasing it, there's social media teases everywhere. How's the reaction been so far?
I mean, I've had, when we released Bad Friend, I've had, a handful of people, like, people in the industry, other musicians, just go, this is the best thing you guys have ever done, which is definitely encouraging. And it's really, really exciting. But I feel like we're just, it was a kind of a weird time to release the songs, because I was out with Ice Nine Kills, and, the band was just a little stratified. So now that we're all kind of like all hands on deck and we're kind of working it, for me, I'm just more excited about the album to come out than just like little snippets, or like more songs to come out, because I feel like you're going to have a more fully scoped idea of what everything the band does, as opposed to like one song. Because you've had that where you hear like one song from a band or a couple of songs, you're like, oh, that's all right. But then the album comes out, look, oh, now I love this, because I have a fully more realized idea of what the band was going for.
Yeah, I've even had the reverse too, where like I'll hear one song come out, and then the album comes out, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that was the best song, you guys.
That happens sometimes. That does happen sometimes. We've all been there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to hear the rest of the album. I think I'm very like, the word proud comes to mind, but I'm not like your dad or fuck it. I didn't work on this album at all, but I am proud that you guys pushed through, the adversity of losing. There was a lot of turmoil in your situation.
Absolutely,
with
yeah.
the loss of the vocalist beforehand, bringing somebody new in. It's always like some bands won't survive that, but you guys are like you said, being touted as putting out the best work you've done yet. The hype behind it is there. I see it on my feed all day. So I'm excited for it, and I'm happy that this is happening. The album, by the way, is available for pre-sale, and that is extremely important. I don't know if you want to talk about that as an artist.
Yeah, pre-sale,
how important that is.
pre-save. Listen, I can't really speak to everyone's consumption habits. Some people are physical media people. Some people are just going to stream the record. Obviously, we want you to buy the record, but in any way that you check out the record, we appreciate. So if that's pre-saving it or pre-ordering it, a digital copy, or a physical copy, obviously we really appreciate that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what I meant was more like, because some people will see the pre-save thing, and they're like, for what? When it comes out, I'll listen to it. Like, what's the point? But those pre-saves are important for a band because that's what labels are looking at. That's what the suits up top. That's what they're looking at. Those pre-save numbers.
Sure.
I mean, is there something I'm missing in terms of like? Do they directly correlate to some like things happening for the band, tours, all that kind of shit?
I don't know if that's a thing where like if you pre-save a record, then you're like following like on Spotify there'll be like followers.
Sure.
Like you have this many monthly listeners, but this many followers and things like that. So I don't know if it correlates there. It's just a way of ensuring that when a record comes out, you'll know about it. You'll get a notification, and you'll check it out. But obviously we're in a streaming environment that is the predominant method in which people listen to music, but obviously the super fans, the people really want to support are they're going to buy the record, and that's almost like I almost feel like at this point it's like either someone who just loves physical media or they just really want to support the band, that they want to kind of vote with their dollar.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in both. Like
Yeah.
I love physical media. I like to sit there, and I know it's a task to flip the record, but I still enjoy doing that. It's like a ritual. Like while I'm enjoying the record, looking at the linear notes, all that stuff, the artwork, and also I like to support the band. And I'm not going to listen to a CD. I'm not going to listen to a cassette. I have way too many fucking shirts already as it is. I don't even know what to do with them. I seriously every like 3 or 4 months I drop 2 garbage bags full of shirts on Goodwill, and I still can't close my fucking drawers. It's insane. Yeah. But I think it's a good way to support the band to pick up the record. And pre-saving I'm telling you, maybe not the case for you guys, but for a lot of musicians, you may think it's a stupid thing because when the album drops, you'll have it there. But those kinds of numbers show that there are people waiting for it, there are people listening, and they're excited about it, and you get notifications for it. For Bad Wolves, I know I saw today there was like a live IG stream of like footage of the music videos. Mm-hmm. So are we going to do a bunch of music videos as well?
We've done 2 already. We shot another one that's coming out, I want to say within the next month or something like that, for like one of the kind of heavier songs on the record. And I'm sure, I feel it's so weird, like MTV went away and bands shoot more music videos than ever. You're shooting 4, 5, 6 music videos on an album now, I think, but you're doing them cheaper, and but it's just about kind of connecting the audio to some visual components, and just kind of pivoting off that. So I'm sure we'll do at least 1 more, but probably 2 more videos actually, now that I think about it, between now and like next year. So because those Legends Never Die just went to radio. It was the most added song in Active Rock this past week.
Nice.
And they have high hopes for that, and we'll see. I mean, we've always done really well at Active Rock Radio, so that's a big deal. Shout out to Jackie Kaiser and Better Noise Music for pushing the band in that avenue. So it's all about, for us, I think it's just about building momentum, and we've been very hit or miss in kind of when it comes to really being super engaged with the band's social media. I think a lot of guys got kind of scared off social media from a lot of the harassment that was going on a couple years back. Not me.
Right.
I've always stayed in the fight. But we were involved in a lawsuit, and we weren't even allowed to use our social media for 6 months. And so I think we just kind of got out of the habit. And I think that also, when it was low, it you kind of lose the algorithms and stuff. And so just kind of building that back up and reforming a connection with the fans is it's literally, I think, the most important thing you can do from a artist perspective is staying connected. It's not just about flooding things with just generic content. It has to be telling a story. It has to be
engaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, we're not going to talk about the controversy you mentioned, but Was there a time during that where you guys considered maybe if when you get a new vocalist that maybe the band changes name or something just to kind of erase any kind of bad stigma or something to avoid that harassment that you're mentioning?
Well, believe it or not, when everything went down, that's before everything went down, I actually brought that up, and I was kind of outvoted.
Okay, all right.
So that was originally what I wanted to do, like before everything kind of went sour. Before we even had the idea of having a new singer or anything. It was like, because I thought it was going to be an uphill climb, but that's not collectively what the organization wanted to do. So kind of just, all right. I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. So let's put our hard hats on and right. pick up some tools and let's rebuild this house.
All right. And now during that, you mentioned it earlier. You had a tour that was scheduled that got canceled. Was that because you were on the road, or was that for a different reason?
No, it had nothing to do with me. I actually flew home. I was gonna miss a show with Einstein Kills. We were supposed to open for Five Finger in Colorado. That show ended up getting canceled. So I was home anyway, and I was literally like on my way to rehearse with Bad Wolves, and then I heard the tour got canceled. So it was mainly because of transportation. Like we had a tour bus locked up, lost that tour bus.
I've heard this is a big deal.
Had another tour bus, lost that one. Yeah. And so I think it was a combination of just the band not wanting to roll in a way that we felt was not amenable to like our health.
Yeah.
And
you want to tour in a pickup truck, dude?
And I'm sure like some people will probably poo-poo that, thinking that maybe we're prima donnas or something like that. But like I'm over 40, John's over 40. We've been doing this a long time. And so much of as I say, it's like if you're used to living in a house with a 2-car garage and plenty of space, and like, hey, we're gonna need you to go into a studio apartment for the next six weeks, but also keep in mind 8 other people are gonna be in there with you. It's so I totally get both angles, and like me personally, I don't have a problem like with roughing it for X amount of time, but I think there was just, truth be told, like that was like the literal reason why we canceled. But I think the aspect of me being away and having very little time to physically prepare for the tour, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that was not in the right place. And I think we needed to take a moment to like get reorganized. And that was the main thing. So it's like, since that moment, and like I feel terrible about canceling the tour, even though like it wasn't me. It was like, we're not doing the tour. Like I would have pretty much done whatever to try and make it happen. But just from a financial perspective, crew members who were expecting to make money are not making money, and money went out for deposits and things and merch and things like that you can't really get back.
Yeah.
That is very tough. And also to the other bands, The Who and Asking Alexandria and 0936, like I apologize so much to those guys, because I don't want to disappoint anyone, and the fans, obviously the most important people who were hoping to see the band. It sucks. So hopefully we can make it up to everyone, and the idea was to get our house in order so that something like this doesn't happen again.
It makes sense, man. Like, and people don't get that. And like I mentioned, I've heard it's a big problem right now with bands getting transportation. A lot of bands have to have canceled tours or whatever it is, because there's no buses or people willing to drive the buses, or even maybe not a bus, but like a bandwagon or something.
By the way, there were no bandwagons.
Yeah,
So we would have done that, and there were no bandwagons. So it was there's a shortage, and even when I was at the Ice Nine Kills, we were having all kinds of issues with the band bus and crew bus, and it's like usually you'd be like, all right, let's get a new bus, because this one there's mechanical problems, and guess what?
There are no buses.
There's no buses, so you just have to no AC, 100 degrees in Texas, deal with it. Yeah. And these are successful acts, that could afford, something that is nice, but there's
no option.
Yeah, it's not available. So it's just, and Danzig just pushed his tour back a month because they couldn't find transportation. I know Light the Torch was supposed to go out with Guar a year or two ago, and they couldn't find transportation, and so we're definitely a victim of that. But you never really want to cancel, but it's unfortunately it's what we're dealing with right now, and we just have to move past it. And the whole point of what we're doing right now is like, okay, we're not on the road. Let's focus on what we can do from home. How can we be engaged? How can we work every day to kind of connect those dots despite not being on the road?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up too the thing you mentioned, like you if you're talking shit about them being prima donnas and shit like that, then you're in your 40s. I have a king size bed and I still ache when I wake up in the mornings. Imagine being on the road in a small tight space and you have to perform. It affects the performance.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you end up playing like shit on stage, and then people are like, oh, they don't have it anymore, and then they start talking shit about that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's needed, man.
Everything, lifestyle, all that stuff, being healthy, being able to eat properly and get enough sleep. I mean, sleep is probably the most important thing on tour. And even by the way, sleep is not the easiest on a tour bus. Even if you have a tour bus, some I feel like I don't sleep my best on a bus, and a lot of people don't. But it's better than the alternative. So yeah, obviously very important, and everything factors in to be able to give 100% on stage.
Hey, man, it sounds to me like that's a business opportunity. Somebody want to start buying a bunch of buses and
or
getting
building.
some drivers.
I think they need to build more buses.
Build some buses, man. Let's do this.
I think we need more supply.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy that's where we're at right now. But you are, like you said, you're working on the album release, and you have an upcoming tour that you haven't announced yet, but is in the works. We'll be looking forward to that. You're busy with God Forbid. You're doing shows again. Last time you and I talked, I brought it up like, hey, what do you think about maybe God Forbid doing? You're like, oh, maybe, I don't know. And then it happened. So, yeah. I mean, how has that been for you to connect with those guys, get back on stage and play those songs again?
I mean, the actual playing part has been incredible. Just getting together, jamming, rehearsing. There's definitely, I remember the first time we got together completely, because when we first booked the reunion show at Blue Ridge a year ago, I would meet up with John and Corey. The three of us. We did a jam. Then I met up with Nick Hippa, and then we would run through songs. And I'm trying to remember if it was. I think maybe it was like me, Nick, and Corey did something. And then, when it was finally like everyone in one room, it was like. There was a lot of magic there. It's kind of, chemistry is probably the most underrated, I think, aspect of why a band works or why particular music comes together. It's just, and God Forbid was always one of those bands where I don't think any individual was a virtuoso, but collectively when it came together, it was something special where the sum was greater than its parts. And, it's not the original lineup, Dallas is not involved, but bringing Nick in from As I Lay Dying, it's like you couldn't pick a better fit, in terms of the sound and his energy and his vibe and the way he preps and how professional he is, and it just kind of makes sense. So that there's something special about that. Just what we did, we get in a room, get on stage, the way people connect to it, and it's just kind of just rolling with that momentum. Everything else around it's a lot of work, especially for me. I'm kind of the one who coordinates everything. And so it's a lot of logistical hell when you have people from all over the country trying to organize rehearsals and travel and all that stuff. And it's expensive. It's so expensive when you have to fly everyone in and figure that stuff out. So that is definitely very stressful. But overall, it's been worth it. And, this upcoming trip is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to be on the boat. And that's like, I've done shipwrecked once before, and that was so much fun.
I keep hearing, I've never been on one of those, but I hear from all my friends. I have a lot of friends that do the stage production on that. And shout out to Reggie and Ash and Nick and all those people. But I always hear good things. I always hear that it's a fun time. And that's a big one. You also got October 30th with Hatebreed. Is that real?
Yeah, we're doing a warm-up show with Hatebreed, and then we have 2 shows with Lacuna Coil and Lions at the Gate.
Oh, the homies. Okay,
Christian. Yeah. So we have those 3 warm-up shows, and then we get on the boat.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So.
Well, I'm gonna jump on it now because I know you've complained about it on social media before, but bring a show to LA, motherfucker.
Well, again, if it was up to me, that probably already would have happened. But dealing with a few guys who have families and regular day jobs, it's not the easiest for them to kind of get out and do this stuff. So it's been very selective. Even like what we did at the beginning of the year, it was like we purposely did that. Kind of in the realm of like it wasn't too long after Christmas because maybe guys have vacation time or something like this, or and like I said, there was basically 9-10 months between events just so to give people the time to be able to take off and kind of make it work. So we'll see. I mean, next year is the 20th anniversary of Gone Forever and the 25th anniversary of Reject the Sickness, our first album. So I'd love to do some stuff kind of surrounding that, but I can't do it unless people kind of give their seal of approval. So
I think you should. I think you should do an anniversary show. I think it would be amazing. I would be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean it'd be a lot of fun.
How about has a conversation happened about possibly writing new songs?
Yeah, there's been some discussions, and I've written music through the years that to me sounds like God forbid music, and there's been interest from labels, big metal labels that would like to sign the band. And again, for me, it's always been one thing at a time. So it's like, let's get through these shows, and then let's have these kind of other conversations. And also me being in Bad Wolves and touring with Ice Nine Kills, it's like there's only so much time in a day that you can kind of dedicate to something. And if I took on something of that magnitude, it would really probably affect some of these other situations. So I'd have to really schedule it out to make sure that I could dedicate it as much as it deserved. For sure. So, but again, I don't want to be too presumptuous to anything or overpromise because I really don't know what's gonna happen. Because you rely on other people, and with God forbid, I don't do anything unless everyone is in.
We'll put it out into the universe. I want that 20th anniversary show here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, if it's up to me, I'd probably do, all right, let's do a weekend in LA, maybe do, here, Orange County, San Diego or something like that. Or let's go to Chicago and Minneapolis and do that, or, something like that. I'd love to do things like that, if, 4 or 5 times in a year.
Yeah.
And you can cover a lot of ground, but you don't have, it's not full-time touring. It's not this full expenditure of time and energy. You can kind of fit it in your normal life,
I think that's something that a lot of bands in our age group are doing, and that's working for me a lot.
They're Bleeding Through. That's what they're doing right now.
Poison the Well is doing shows.
Yeah,
they do like a handful here and there, and then they disappear again. And then I flew out to Seattle to go see Botch. That was a crazy reunion, but yeah, I think it's good because the game of touring, 300 days out of the year, that's a young man's game.
Well, a young man's game, or a
high level,
or a band that is making, where that's their full-time job and they can make a living doing it. I don't know about 300 shows a year, but certainly in the 150 kind of, you look at bands like Seven Dust or Hatebreed or stuff like that, kind of just working class bands that go out there and do the thing and make a living.
I admire you, man. Like, we're friends, but you really are an inspiration in terms of how much you diversify your time and how much you do. Because, I mean, you did this Ice Nine Kills thing. You've got Bad Wolves. You've got God Forbid. You also do the wedding band on occasion, which if you don't know what that is, it's crazy. You got legends on stage with you. Kurt Hammett, Robert Trujillo, John Theodore. I mean, what is it that how often do you guys get together? Like, how does that work out into your schedule?
It's been a while. The last thing we did was April 2022. But I think everything really altered around the new Metallica album, and this world tour they're doing right now is so all encompassing. And when Metallica's pushing an album, it's like full on. They their level of marketing and kind of the way they create media and they're going on Howard Stern and they're going on the Tonight Show and they're doing all that stuff. It's really all encompassing. So I don't think there's as much time to really dedicate. And I think they don't want to disrupt the focus when it's Metallica time. But there has been some inquiry about some stuff next year for the wedding band. I haven't really been given times or like what they're looking at, but hopefully that all comes together, and I will certainly try to carve out time to make sure that happens, because it's such a special project, and especially me. I'm like the youngest guy on board, probably the least accomplished person that's a part of the band. So that just to have that opportunity, it's like I want to maintain that as long as I can and make it available to keep happening, because it's just a very cool thing, because those guys do not have to do that. It's something
just
that,
for fun.
It's for fun. It's for joy. It's for, just all the reasons why lifetime musicians want to do music. And you have to be kind of built for that, because I know some musicians they kind of look down on cover bands. They think it's kind of cheesy or whatever. Or they just want to like. Some people, their thing is they just want to make music, original music, right? They don't. I know some guys, they don't even really like playing live. They just like being in the studio
recording.
But I'm definitely probably a little more the latter, where like, for me, the most important thing is playing live. Like that's like the best part about being a musician. Yeah,
for sure. And that it's a fun thing to do. I think obviously those naysayers on covers, like Bad Wolves is known to have put out several covers. Like, is that something that I never understood what the hate is? Covers have always been a thing. So, I mean, is that something that you want to do more of also with Bad Wolves?
I think with Bad Wolves, we're going to be very selective with that, because technically we've only officially released 2 covers. Technically 3 if you count the Christmas song we did, Carol of the Bells. So technically 3 cover songs. But, I think with us, it's like, it's very important to be strategic, because I think there could be the perception that it's like, like not the word cash grab, but that it's like a cynical tactic, that it's just kind of a gimmick.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a reason why we didn't officially put out a cover for a long time, and because Zombie was the first thing, and if we were going to do something, it had to really make sense. Technically, during the pandemic, we were doing all these covers through there, but then, when the band split up, those ended up going with Tommy, so we didn't end up utilizing any of those officially for the band.
But it's funny you mentioned that the pandemic times, and you were also mentioning people poo-poo on bands doing covers, but during the pandemic, everybody was doing covers.
Yeah.
Mostly in part thanks to, 2 Minutes to Late Night doing all those nice collaborative covers, but like everybody loved that shit. Everybody was all about it.
Well, here's the thing. People love cover songs, all right? Yeah. There's nothing in the same way like our kind of pop culture and our society has been inundated with reboots and remakes and sequels. I mean, I think
nostalgia.
Nostalgia, but it taps into this idea that we're attached to the familiar. So I totally get the idea of wanting original music and wanting things, but they tend to do pretty well. But yeah, I think we want to be selective with that, and I think with us there's that the blessing and curse of having this giant hit song, but also not. For us, it doesn't help us to solely be known for that, or being you're the cover band. Yeah. And there's been some stuff I think with that band Our Last Night was kind of like getting some hate on the internet, because I guess they do a lot of covers and are very successful, and there's a lot of haters on that, but they're doing really well. So clearly the people that like that really like it. So just let people if you don't like it, then you don't have to support that band.
Let people like things. That's what I think the message is, for sure.
Sounds easy, but not very not as prevalent as I think as we'd like.
It should be, man. Just let people like things. I used to be a hater too when I was younger. In my 20s, I would talk shit or be a little bit of an elitist or gatekeepy. But at this point in my 40s, I don't give a fuck, man. Like whatever you want to like, I guess. Unless you're like some horrible shit like crime, murder, all that stuff. Don't like that. But musically or entertainment wise, like whatever you want to like, man. I don't care.
Really into crime.
Yeah, I like selling drugs now. So because you don't have enough stuff, I mean, I don't know if you've talked about that at all out loud to anyone, but
What do you mean enough stuff?
like band stuff.
Oh.
So you're working on music for another project, are you not? I don't know if you've mentioned this to anyone.
Oh, like solo stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have a song speaking of covers, it's a cover song.
There you are. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That I worked on and shot a music video, and you're in the music video.
That was a shameless plug.
I was trying to get it out earlier this year, and that didn't happen because basically the Ice Nine Kills thing happened. I got really busy, but then there actually is some label interest, so that kind of pushed things back. So it's definitely something I'm going to be working on, like probably developing more original material. But it's very daunting because I've never really thought of myself as a solo artist. So it's kind of a grand experiment, to see how much I suck or not as a solo artist. And so obviously you put something out with your name on it, you want to make sure it's good.
Are you gonna sing? Are you singing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the song while we were filming the video. I was just.
Well, I'll show it to
video.
you before we leave.
Yes.
It's all done. The videos, it's all done.
All right. All right.
So it's just been sitting on it.
So, I mean, again, like you have. I don't understand how you have time for all this shit.
I don't.
And
talk to my fiance.
And time to come out here to Hollywood to hang out with me and talk shit for an hour. But dude, it's crazy the amount of work you're doing, and that's what you have. I mean, I'm a firm believer in your mindset of like that's what you have to do. You have to work.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to hear that there is label interest, and now that's even though it's less time for you now, it's more awesome work to do to work on a solo project like that. What direction would you take it? I mean, you're a guitar player mainly, so I'm assuming it's guitar driven work, but. Is it is it a rap album? You start rapping?
Probably not. I don't think I'd be good at rapping. I think I could, I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing for me. But let's not create any creative boundaries now. But no, I mean I have a song that I was like working on like a few years ago that I was like, what, that might be a cool kind of jumping point. So because trust me, I wasn't thinking about the original music. I literally I had this song and I had this idea for a music video. I was like, I'm going to do that. And then now the label thing is kind of coming in and they want original music. So I'm like, all right, now I have to jump on this horse. So, and it's funny because I was listening to I was like, should I like revamp some older material that I have and I just sing on it, or do I write new stuff? So I'm kind of like, in the early stages, but right now I got home and it was really like Bad Wolves, promote the album, social media, like that's like a lot of stuff I have to deal with. And then God forbid is doing these shows, and so it's a lot of logistical stuff and getting that sorted out. So it's like kind of like I need to filter through some of that work and get there. And then once I'm in a good zone, then I can kind of start focusing on being creative. So I haven't really been able to be really creative since the beginning of the year when we were finishing up the Bad Wolves record. So just being able to kind of carve out time for that and get more in a zone of that, I'm looking forward to it. But I have to like put away time for it because if I don't, it won't happen, and I'll work on all these different projects.
Yeah. And you're still doing your podcast too on top of all that.
And at the end of a hiatus, which I'm about to re-get the wheels going with the podcast in the next week. So I'm going to do like a Q&A episode and just kind of catch people up on what I've been up to. And then I have to get back to booking and kind of doing all that stuff. So that's another thing amongst the other things,
And that's such a daunting, like people don't understand when you're running a podcast on your own, like you don't have a massive team or anything working with you. You have to handle the booking, and the booking is the worst part of doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's just making sure someone wants to do it, figuring out when they can doing it, scheduling it. A lot of times you schedule stuff, people cancel. It becomes a whole thing, and and then what you really want to do is you want to bang out 2 or 3 in a week, so that you have some in the in the pipeline, so you don't have to do two or three per week. So if you can get 2 or 3 or 4 done in 1 week, then you could do one a week, and then you kind of have a nice kind of reservoir of material. But just kind of getting that up and running is always a bit of a bit of a labor. And one thing I liked about the pandemic was I was able to be consistent with the show and get out every week. And I was still doing pretty good recently, but just that touring schedule was so breakneck, and even when I was out, I was always working on stuff on the road, on band stuff, so I there was literally no time for me to do the show, unfortunately.
Well, I'm glad to hear it's coming back. I don't know how you're doing it. Again,
technically I'm not doing the show right now, but I will be.
You will be doing it.
I will be doing it.
Did you know that you don't have a Wikipedia page?
I do know that I don't.
Is that intentional?
It's not me. I think it's Wikipedia, right?
No, I think
I could just start one.
Yeah, anybody can edit a Wikipedia page.
I'm talking about starting one. You just submit yourself.
Yeah, you can submit yourself, or one of your friends could do it. A fan, somebody can put that up there for you, because that's kind of like the problem with Wikipedia. Like, it's helpful and informative, but then anybody can come in and just edit shit and make it weird. So that's kind of an open format there. But yeah, I thought maybe it was intentional. Like, you don't want a wiki page, because when you do wiki, like your name, it goes straight to God forbid, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of people don't have them, so we'll see. I'll send it up the flagpole.
Yeah.
Try and figure this out.
Anybody out there want to create a Doc Coyle wiki page? Get on it. He needs one. Make my job a little easier when I got to find notes that are not just friendly conversations that he and I have. All right. And I wanted to get away from all the work talk for you. Just ask you like a personal thing. How are you feeling about the aliens that have now been confirmed by our government?
Well, they're not confirmed by the government.
Well, this morning I got video of a trial in Mexico where they showed bodies.
Yeah, no, I saw that. But
do you think those are real? Because it looks like clay.
Well, it's interesting about that, because I think the way people analyze stuff like that, I think, is actually very wrong-headed. So a lot of times, intuition is not a very valuable way to measure things, right? So yes, on the surface, when you look at this, you go, okay, it kind of almost looks like paper mache.
Yeah.
But if if according to these guys, they're mummified, and it's 1,000 years old. So if you had a mummified human body after 1,000 years, what would it look like? I don't know. But so it's this idea that you already have a preconception of what seems plausible, right? So in many ways, if you're someone who's skeptical of the UFO mythology of the last 100 years, the idea that there would be physical evidence of something that is a stereotypical gray alien, just by virtue of it looking stereotypical, those people will be skeptical. But they're not considering the fact that maybe the stereotype is there because that is what they actually look like, right? So I think people have so many different biases kind of interacting at the same time. People tend to get to the conclusion that they always start with. So if you're someone who's not a believer, or even I think you are a believer, that is not going to be convincing based on, if your intuition goes, well, that looks fake. And it goes, but compared to what?
Yeah.
Do you have a real 1,000-year?
Bro, I bought a toy at Spencer Gifts. It doesn't look like that.
Yeah. So someone's judgment on it or their skepticism doesn't really make sense. I often bring up the idea that if you had a 4K video of an actual UFO that was 100% real, the fact that it was clear and pristine would, to other people, be evidence of why it's fake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So there's actually no measuring stick to actually say what would be convincing, because if you're always just going to presume, well, in a world where I can go to the movies and there's dinosaurs and fairies and giants and, anything can be created with technology, people are just going to say, well, it's not real. So, and then if it's too fuzzy, they go, well, clearly that's not real because it's too fuzzy and it's messed up.
We have 4K cameras.
If it's too clear, then they go, well, that's Unreal Engine. So clearly that's, so what is the bar? How does one actually determine these things? And to me, the most convincing part of it is what is the benefit of someone presenting something like that to Congress in Mexico? Apparently, this gentleman who did this has done something similar that was debunked. So that to me already,
maybe.
I don't. Again, this is kind of third-hand information, but I don't think that lends to credibility. But you have to look into it, because I think a lot of times people see a video on the internet, and if you don't know the context for it and what's happening, where it's happening, and why it's happening, then I think it's tough to actually have a great sense of it. What happened in the States with the David Grush testimony. I think it's compelling based solely on the venue that it happened before Congress, which means if they're lying, they can be prosecuted for perjury. So there is a risk there. So like, why would someone do that so publicly? And also the credibility of his background and the kind of access is like, what does that person have to gain? Some people are like, oh, well, they can get rich, and I'm like, maybe, but I feel like if you're coming from the military intelligence community, you have much more to lose than gain by being the kind of poster child of something like that is often ridiculed and derided, and you can be kind of cast off as a crank. Yeah. But to me, my takeaway with that is it's extremely compelling, but until you take the next step and verify the claims being made. A lot of them he didn't even see firsthand. He was kind of speaking on behalf of some other people of things he was told. Until you do that, you still have to go compelling, interesting. I want to believe, but you have to just kind of wait until more comes out. And by the way, it may never come out, right? You can't, just because someone says, hey, there are these programs. What is the impetus of the people who have the control between revealing that stuff have to changing the status quo, right? So it is kind of in some ways like a black box, Yeah.
I mean, I'm a believer. Obviously, I believe that this is a big universe, and to believe we're the only living things is a little wild to me. But I think a lot of the trepidation that I have, or anyone would have, is the fact that it came from Mexico. The bodies. I live in LA, man. You know how many concerts I've been to that have bootleg shirts on the outside that look like real shirts from the band? I have a Behemoth one. It cost me $10. It looks like a real Behemoth shirt, but it's not. And the second I saw that, I'm like, this is probably bootleg, dude. I don't buy it.
Yeah, well, I know, but like I said,
I'm not being racist. I'm just saying it's your own fault for being so entrepreneurial, Mexicans.
Well, no, but on its surface, to me, it's like if someone was making an alien, like a fake alien, to make it look real, you wouldn't make that.
Yeah, it looks pretty, obviously fake.
Yeah, well, I mean,
obviously, it just looks like you said, paper mache.
It just doesn't look aesthetically convincing. If that was what you were gonna do, so why would someone create something that looked so like stereotypical, small? And the way it kind of looked. I mean, basically, if the X-rays that they're showing are real, okay, then maybe that's real. But then again, you could actually make, but they've done stuff where people will make things out of real bones.
Oh yeah.
And then put stuff around it to oh look, it's
I say have them donate those bodies to have a live stream. Science, where they're experimenting on it and checking the DNA and the opening, like an autopsy type of thing.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I think that's why I have such I don't buy it because it's from Mexico.
Yeah, no, I listen, I think always the default position should be skepticism.
Yeah.
And especially something that is, again, so on its surface aesthetically not convincing. So why is this being, what do those people have to gain by putting that out there? And again, your intuition is based on your previous biases. So if you're generally tending to be someone who thinks it's all bullshit, then you're probably not going to believe it. Yeah. If you're someone who tends to believe everything and think it's all real, then maybe you have a tendency to go, well, clearly this is evidence, but it's probably somewhere in the middle, Yeah.
Well, before we wrap this up, I know you're a big movie buff too. Is there any movies that are out now? I mean, I know I don't even know if you have time to watch movies anymore, but are there movies that are out that you would recommend that would fit within your fan base?
I went and saw that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. That was really great.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was very, very well done. I actually just watched a horror movie called Smile.
Oh, I heard about this one.
It was yesterday, the day before. Yo.
Good?
It was really good. But I literally, there was a jump scare in it that literally it sent like a shock all the way through my nerve, all the way down to my feet. Like, I was like, dude, that never happened before. They got me. Nice. But I thought it actually was really well done. It's definitely something that'll, my lady was cringing and hiding and gripping, so it was very effective.
I'll give them props on their marketing. Did you see what they did for the marketing of that movie?
I just saw the trailer.
They sent out actors to like baseball games
and
to sit
smile.
in the crowd just like smiling, and the cameras would catch them. They're like, "What the fuck?" They were wearing the shirt that said "Smile," but yeah, it was pretty interesting, like a viral-ish type of marketing campaign behind it.
Yeah, it was good. I'm trying to think what else did I see. Oppenheimer was great.
Fuck, man. I bought tickets to go see the 70 millimeter IMAX version somewhere. And the day of, I had a family thing that it was an emergency and I couldn't go. So I got a refund and I haven't been able to go. But is it worth the 3 hours, 4 hours?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's Christopher Nolan. I mean, it's a real, it's the thing I love about his filmmaking. It's long, but there's a pace to it. He has a very kind of, it's a driven pace that is very unique to his filmmaking. And in many ways, I think that movie, it's extremely successful. It's almost at like $900 million, which is very surprising for a movie like that. But part of me wonders if it's like, there's stuff in the, kind of ecosphere about nuclear war and Russia and World War III and things like that. And I think it's a great moment to kind of quantify the power of this stuff. And like, I don't know, it made me think about this idea that there's basically the world changed after that, right? Like people did not have to walk around their day-to-day lives thinking that the world could end in one fell swoop until after that. And the funny thing is the whole premise behind inventing it from like someone like Oppenheimer's perspective was like, oh, this is going to end war.
Right.
Because he, it's like, oh, it's going to make war so vicious, the idea, so destructive that people would never do it. And then we actually realized, no, there's people who are like pretty cool with destroying the world. Mm-hmm. Or at least making you believe that they would do it as a way to get what they want, Yeah,
I mean, I would say that's probably what people, I haven't seen it, but a lot of people say it's a heavy movie, and I think that's the aspect of it, like the thought process behind, like, we could end the world pretty quickly if if somebody were compelled to with that thing. And, I hope that that's the message people are getting from the movie. I think a lot of its success is probably attributed to the memes, thanks to the Barbieheimer bullshit that happened. Did you see Barbie?
I did.
Was it good?
I mean, it's a good movie. I don't know if it's like.
Careful now, you don't want to get canceled.
No, I mean, go ahead, cancel me. No, because it's like I was not interested in seeing Barbie until like it was like.
Phenomenon.
Like a kind of a cultural thing, and my lady wanted to go see it. So like I think it's well done, but like I don't. It's not like I feel like I'm gonna go back and watch Barbie 50 times because I don't really, obviously didn't play with Barbies. I don't really have an interest in the culture around or lore of like the toys or anything like that. But it's funny. I kind of want to rewatch it, and because the movie is kind of it's a big message movie, and so anytime you do something like that, I love the conversations around that and see how effective the film is and delivering that message, whether I agree with the message, whether it's, you know, so there's a conversation to be had around it, which I love. I love films that kind of push some buttons and ask some questions, and we can have conversations like this about it.
I love conversations too. Obviously, I'm a podcaster, but you know, I'm hoping that we head towards a direction where we can have more open conversations, because there is a lot of tribalism going on in the society today. A lot of people arguing with each other over every single little thing. Like, it started. I don't say it started, but I would say like the current state of things started when it was a political landscape and people were like, oh, team red, team blue, whatever. But it's kind of bled into every aspect of our culture. Like, me as a wrestling fan, there's two brands that are considered the biggest brands, and they just constantly bicker and fight amongst each other, the fan base. And anytime you even post something on, like, in social media, you'll immediately have one person like, oh, it's garbage. Like, I really think we need to get to a point where we can have more open conversations without it leading into aggressions or attacks or bullying or anything of that nature. So I'm hoping that movies like that, like Oppenheimer, with a message like that that's so powerful, can we just get us back to a place where we can have normal, civilized conversation with each other?
Yeah, it's not going to happen, but not anytime soon. So,
yeah, well, that's my hopes. I hope that people that are watching at home feel the same way. I don't think that there's a reason to be down each other's throats so much. Let people like things, and you know, I don't know, be better people. Dude, I'm going to let you go because I know you have stuff you need to take care of. You need to go get some equipment and stuff. But you have a lot of stuff to plug. Let's start with Bad Wolves.
Yeah, we have a new album, Die About It, coming out November 3rd. Pick it up, stream it, tell people about it. We appreciate it. We love you. That's right.
Pre-order. Are there vinyls coming?
Yes. I don't know if they'll be available like on the day of. I feel like they always kind of do that with us, where the album comes out and the vinyls don't show up for another few months. But yeah.
All right.
I think there's actually 2 different colors as well. I think it might be different color vinyl.
Okay. Well, pick up a vinyl. God forbid you have shows October 30th with Hatebreed and then Shiprocked after that.
Yep. And then we're playing Destin, Florida, and West Palm Beach, I believe, with or Tampa with Doc Coyle. So check that out.
All right. And then X-Man Pod is coming back as soon as you can. No dates on that or anything, but you're getting back in the wheel after that.
Yeah, probably next week.
All right. There you go. There you go. Anything else you want to plug that I might be missing?
That's pretty much it.
Awesome, dude. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming out here. I know traffic sucks and all of that, but any excuse to sit down and talk to you for an hour.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
Make sure to follow Doc at Doc Coyle. All the
at Doc Coyle, DOCCOYLE, everywhere.
Yeah. Follow Bad Wolves too. Support. If you're watching this, support. That's how we get to do more things. If you support, please follow the show at RRBG Podcast. And yeah, dude, I'll see you around for sure.
Cheers.